The moment you discover that someone you love is hiding a painful secret, your world collapses, and life will never be the same again. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. In the early stillness of a quiet Ouagadougou morning, President Ibrahim Traore was preparing for what he assumed would be another day of dedicated service to his country. Every aspect of the palace's daily routine followed a precise rhythm. A careful blend of official duty and personal reflection, yet behind the peaceful appearance of his private residence, a silent storm was beginning to form. For generations, the Traoré family had stood for integrity, courage, and humility. Values passed down by mentors and sharpened by years of public service. But nothing from his long and honorable career could have readied him for the betrayal that was about to emerge from the very core of his personal life. It began subtly. A strange look here, a quiet phone call there. Oddities he initially dismissed as part of a demanding schedule. His wife, Aissata, had always been his greatest support. The one person with whom he could share both his proudest achievements and his deepest uncertainties. But in recent weeks, something felt off. A misplaced envelope, a hidden folder, small anomalies that, when taken together, began to form a pattern that couldn't be ignored. One rainy afternoon, while reviewing sensitive files in his private study, Traoré stumbled upon a concealed compartment behind a row of old books. Inside, he found a disturbing collection: encrypted messages, surveillance images, and secret audio recordings. The truth was almost impossible to accept. Aissata had been spying on him. The shock hit him like a drumbeat echoing through his chest, each thud a cruel reminder of her betrayal. His thoughts raced as he sifted through the undeniable evidence. How could the woman he had entrusted with his dreams, his secrets, even his soul, have been involved in something so deceptive? This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. A planned betrayal seemingly rooted in the very circle he trusted most. As he studied the files, each item revealed more. Phone records showing secret meetings, digital exchanges with unknown individuals, and images of Aissata speaking intensely with mysterious figures in unfamiliar places. A flood of emotions took over: hurt, disbelief, and an isolating sense of betrayal. Still, the resolve that had defined his presidency began to rise again. Traoré had always upheld the values of accountability and honesty. Now those principles would be tested in the most personal way imaginable. He had to ask, was Aissata forced into this role by external actors? Or had she knowingly embraced a life of deception? The questions haunted him, torn between the raw pain of betrayal and the pressing need to protect his country. As the initial shock gave way to resolve, Traoré knew he couldn't ignore what had happened. He quietly summoned his closest advisors and launched a discreet internal investigation. Late into the night, alone in his office, he examined every detail, his mind caught between sorrow and determination. In confidential meetings that followed, the president spoke with calm, deliberate clarity, laying out his firm decision to remain focused. Our nation is built on a fragile foundation of trust, he said to his inner circle. Today I must confront the painful reality that even those closest to us can keep dark secrets. We will seek the truth with the same seriousness we apply to any national threat. At that moment, the personal collided with the political. This wasn't just about a broken relationship. It now threatened the integrity of his leadership and the stability of Burkina Faso. This betrayal wasn't only personal, it was a harsh reminder that the pursuit of truth often spans both public and private arenas. In his journal, a record of both proud victories and quiet struggles, Traoré once wrote of his belief that integrity must always be protected. I've learned that every scar, every moment of despair, offers a chance to begin again. Then he wrote with trembling but steady hands. This betrayal, as painful as it is, will not define our path. Instead, it will strengthen our resolve to fight for a future grounded in truth and justice. Outside his office, life in the city carried on, unaware of the private anguish their leader faced. Still, quiet whispers began to spread, soft rumors hinting at a deeper plot. Some believed Aissata had been manipulated by political enemies looking to damage Traoré's reputation. Others suggested more personal reasons, wondering if the burdens of leadership had changed the heart of the woman who once anchored him. In hushed conversations over tea in the palace gardens, aides speculated about what the discovery could mean for the presidency, for the public's trust, for the nation's future. Through it all, President Traoré remained composed in public. When asked about the matter, he offered only a gentle, knowing smile, one that seemed to hide the weight of many unspoken truths. In private, he struggled deeply. He couldn't easily separate the pain of betrayal from the heavy demands of duty. This wasn't a challenge he could walk away from. It was a test that would shape who he was, both as a man and a leader. Could love and loyalty survive the harsh truths of espionage and betrayal? Was it possible that, in today's world of political games, even a marriage could be broken by the forces of power? Eventually, Traoré's pain gave way to a focused, unshakable purpose: to uncover the full truth. No matter the personal toll, the dignity of his office and the safety of the nation had to remain intact. In a quiet moment of reflection, standing on his balcony as the sun faded into dusk, he made a silent vow. The truth would come out, even if it meant facing the person he once loved most. The road ahead would be unclear, filled with emotional landmines and political hurdles, but no betrayal, however deep, would be allowed to compromise the future he had worked so hard to build for his people. At this turning point, if you're intrigued by this powerful story of love, betrayal, and the pursuit of truth, don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to follow the next chapter of this remarkable story. Your support helps drive our shared mission for truth and accountability. As the palace settled into the quiet rhythm of late-night security updates and hushed conversations, Traoré began carefully crafting a plan. Every decision was made with the seriousness of a leader who had always put his responsibilities before personal interests. He ordered a full audit of palace communications, quietly brought in skilled investigators, and, most importantly, planned an honest and heartfelt conversation with Aissata. Those close to him recognized that this was more than a routine investigation. It was a confrontation with the toughest realities of leadership. Balancing personal grief with public responsibility required every step to be taken with care and strength. As the investigation progressed quietly, the emotional conflict within him deepened. Memories of their early years, days filled with hope and silent promises, stood in painful contrast to the evidence now before him. Traoré remembered Aissata's soft voice speaking of loyalty, the kind look in her eyes during quiet moments, and the steadfast support she gave during his most uncertain times. Now, those memories were shadowed by signs of secret meetings and hidden messages. The emotional strain was heavy, but it strengthened his resolve. Every document he reviewed, every conversation he re-examined, pushed him further toward the truth. Had she been forced into this, manipulated by others, or was she driven by personal ambition? These thoughts haunted him as he prepared for the unavoidable confrontation. A meeting that could both unlock the past and shape the future of his leadership. Through those long, sleepless nights, filled with the quiet hum of palace hallways, President Ibrahim Traore drew strength from the unbreakable will of his people. Every heartbeat and every private tear marked the burden of leadership in moments of deep personal pain. The betrayal, though devastating, became a chance to look inward and reconnect with the core values of truth, loyalty, and sacrifice that had shaped his rise to power. He understood that only the truth, no matter how difficult, could begin to heal the wound left by deception. With a heavy yet determined heart, Traoré prepared himself for the challenges ahead. Each action was carefully planned, aimed not just at exposing those behind the betrayal, but also at uncovering what led someone he once deeply trusted down such a hidden path. The line between personal emotion and political responsibility began to blur, merging into one clear purpose: to protect the integrity of a nation built on trust, even if it meant confronting a painful betrayal. As dawn broke over Ouagadougou, painting the sky in soft colors of hope, President Traoré closed his eyes and took a steady breath. The journey ahead would be filled with emotional trials and hard truths, but he was ready. No matter how painful the truth, he was committed to justice. He would turn this wound into strength, a guiding light for renewal and integrity in the Myo country he loved. In the confusion of betrayal and sorrow, one question echoed in Traoré's mind. How could the one person he trusted most become the keeper of secrets that threatened everything he stood for? Before we go on, be sure to like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories like this. The days following the shocking discovery felt endless. In the stillness of his private quarters, once filled with warm memories of shared joy and quiet dreams, Traoré now faced a chilling collection of evidence. Every document, every hidden image of Issata in secret meetings widened the emotional gap inside him. The coded messages described hidden locations, secret rendezvous with unknown figures, and a network of communication that was both complex and deceptive. With each new detail, the trust he once had was stripped away, replaced by a deep, aching pain that no physical injury could ever match. Refusing to let betrayal define him, the president called upon those who had stood with him through past struggles. In the strategy room, dimly lit and lined with maps marking both hope and hardship, his closest advisors assembled. Among them was Colonel Dio, a calm intelligence officer seasoned by years of experience, and a few loyal companions who had been emotional pillars. Traoré, voice steady but marked by sorrow, shared the disturbing evidence. Each word was filled with disappointment and a desperate need for answers. "This isn't just personal betrayal," he began, his eyes shining with a mix of grief and determination. "It's a challenge to our values and a reminder that we must remove deceit from our leadership's core." The room grew still, with unspoken questions. How had Issata, once a source of comfort, become involved in something so dangerous? Had she acted of her own will, or had others taken advantage of her? The advisors exchanged cautious thoughts, considering whether political enemies had used her emotions against her. As talk of blackmail, pressure, and ideological manipulation filled the room, Traoré realized the investigation had to be thorough. This betrayal threatened not only his personal life, but also the nation's security and the values his presidency was built on. In the days that followed, a careful and thorough inquiry began. Under the highest level of security, skilled agents examined every digital message and physical record stored in the palace archives. Traoré ordered a deep review of all internal communications and brought in trusted external experts whose unbiased analysis could cut through the emotional fog. Late at night, alone in his study, he reviewed the evidence with focused precision. Each file confirmed his fears and hinted at something larger. Perhaps Issata had been pulled into this against her will, or perhaps she had played an active role in a calculated betrayal. As the investigation moved forward, the line between personal feelings and public responsibility grew clearer and more difficult to navigate. The president's mind was a battleground. On one side were the warm echoes of memories, times when Issata had been his confidant, his partner in dreams and ambition. On the other was the cold, undeniable truth of betrayal. Each night, as the moonlight filtered softly through the tall windows of his residence, Traoré struggled to reconcile these two realities. In moments of solitude, he reflected on the promises they once shared, the belief that love and loyalty were unbreakable. But now, those vows lay in pieces, exposing the delicate nature of human trust. Amid this emotional conflict, Traoré clung to a lesson he had learned early in his difficult rise to power. Real strength comes from confronting hardship directly. Though burdened with sorrow, he remained firm in his decision. The truth had to come out, no matter how painful. In a rare instance of deep reflection, he wrote a letter, a personal journal entry that offered a glimpse into his soul. "A leader's role is more than survival," he wrote carefully, each word considered. "It is my duty to uncover lies, to learn from betrayal, and to grow stronger for the sake of my people. No act of deceit, however dark, can ever extinguish the light of justice and truth. This difficult but necessary admission lit within him a steadfast resolve, not only to expose the full extent of the conspiracy, but to transform his private pain into a driving force for the country's rebirth. As the challenging investigation continued, a surprising turn surfaced. Security teams found troubling links between Issata's covert behavior and a web of foreign political groups known for their disruptive methods. Her espionage, it seemed, wasn't driven by personal motives alone. Encrypted messages suggested contact with individuals tied to an international network intent on destabilizing the government. The discovery was both startling and complex. A difficult question emerged. Was Issata merely a pawn in a much larger plan, manipulated by those preying on even the closest relationships? If she had been coerced, it added a deeper sadness to the already painful situation. Traoré found himself torn between the urge for strict punishment and the call for empathetic understanding, a conflict that tested his core values as a leader. In a private briefing with Colonel Dio and his trusted advisors, the discussion unfolded with a mix of analytical focus and unspoken emotion. "We have to examine all possibilities," Colonel Dio stated, his voice steady but compassionate. "It's possible Issata was forced into this, her actions shaped by blackmail or serious threats. To find the truth, we must tread carefully, with both fairness and empathy." If you found this complex story of trust and betrayal as compelling as we have, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue this shared quest for truth and transparency. In the days that followed, President Traoré arranged a private, discreet meeting with Issata, a conversation long delayed but impossible to avoid. The meeting took place in a quiet section of the palace, away from the media and curious eyes. The room was filled with the weight of unspoken words and unresolved pain as Traoré entered the simple sitting room. Under the soft glow of a single chandelier, he saw his wife. She sat calmly, but her eyes held a deep sadness and quiet remorse. When their eyes met, the space seemed to close in, heavy with the reality neither could ignore. "Issata," Traoré began, his voice carrying both sorrow and controlled strength. "I've discovered truths that cut to the heart of what we shared. I know you've been spying on me." His words, though calm, carried the full weight of the betrayal. He carried the burden of heartbreak alongside the determination of a man who wouldn't allow betrayal to go unanswered. Issata's eyes briefly widened, a silent sign of her inner conflict, before tears slowly formed on her cheeks. The silence stretched, heavy and tense. Then, with a trembling voice full of regret, she finally broke it. "I'm so sorry, Ibrahim. I never meant to hurt you. I was caught in a situation I couldn't escape. They threatened everything I cared about if I didn't do what they asked." Her confession, raw with pain and sincerity, struck deep within Traoré's already wounded heart. Knowing that her actions may have come from fear rather than betrayal added another layer to his suffering in time. That intense moment, years of shared trust, love, and dreams, crashed against the hard truth of deception. Traoré felt the sting of disappointment, but also a reluctant empathy for the woman who had once grounded him. This moment required more than leadership. It demanded the understanding of a husband. "Tell me everything," he said gently. His voice was calm, not cold nor forgiving, but sincere in its need for the full truth. "I need to understand how far this darkness goes so we can begin to bring it into the light." So began a long and painful dialogue, a cleansing unraveling of the situation that had ensnared Issata. She spoke of constant pressure, veiled threats from unknown sources, and a deepening desperation that overpowered her love and loyalty. Each word trembled with guilt and sorrow. For hours, the couple navigated a difficult path of accusations, confessions, and bitter truths. It became both a confrontation and a search for clarity, a journey through the fragility of human nature and the powerful pull of duty. Meanwhile, the broader investigation continued, slowly revealing a web of lies stretching far beyond personal betrayal. More evidence emerged, linking secret communications to foreign operatives and exposing a well-organized plot designed to manipulate even the highest levels of government. With every new piece of information, President Traoré's resolve only grew stronger. He became more determined to take apart the web of deceit that had invaded his life, both private and political. His commitment was reinforced by the belief that truth and justice must triumph, no matter the strength of those opposing them. The wake of their emotional exchange, Traoré and Issata were left in a heavy silence, one filled with sorrow, but also the faintest glimmer of reconciliation. The road ahead would be difficult. Rebuilding trust from the ruins of betrayal would not be easy, yet within that silence was a subtle promise that even the deepest wounds could be healed through honesty, transparency, and a deep commitment to love and integrity. As night fell over Ouagadougou, President Traoré withdrew into solitude, reflecting on the painful events. His heart, scarred but strengthened by hardship, now beat with a renewed sense of purpose, to transform both his inner world and his country. He understood that the challenges to come, whether political, personal, or moral, demanded that he lead not only with strength, but with humanity. Every tear shed, every painful breath, had kindled within him a fierce determination to never again allow betrayal to threaten the core values of his people. At this crucial turning point, as the investigation revealed its final secrets and the full scale of the deception became clear, Traoré realized that the path to healing was just beginning. He made a solemn promise to pursue the truth without wavering, to face every shadow with empathy and reason, and to guide his nation with wisdom forged through suffering. If this story of love, betrayal, and the search for redemption moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us explore the truth and encourages us all to face our inner struggles with strength and compassion. Some truths cut deep, but in tearing our world apart, they often light the way to unexpected renewal. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you'd like more stories like this. In the weeks following that painful night, the halls of the presidential palace seemed heavy with silent sorrow and quiet determination. President Ibrahim Traore, hurt by betrayal, but anchored by his lifelong dedication to truth and justice, faced a final test, both personal and political. That private conversation with Issata had left lasting scars. Every word exchanged in that hidden room, now haunted by memories of love and lies, echoed in his thoughts. He was still processing the devastating truth. The woman he once trusted most had become entangled in a web of espionage. Yet, Traoré understood that this painful betrayal could also spark much-needed change. After that night, when Issata's voice shook with guilt and confessions of fear, a deep silence settled over the palace. Outside, the pounding rain washed away the day's turmoil, mirroring the inner cleansing Traoré knew he had to begin. Alone once again, he prepared for what lay ahead. In the quiet solitude of his private study, he sat beside the window as rain traced sorrowful lines down the glass. His mind churned with a storm of grief, anger, and a faint yet persistent hope that truth could still emerge, even in this bleakest hour. He revisited each warm memory, shared smiles, whispered promises, laughter during simple meals, all now starkly contrasted with the hard evidence in his hands. Encrypted messages, photos of covert meetings, and digital footprints connected Issata to mysterious figures. In this painful juxtaposition, he faced the complex nature of humanity, the ability to deeply love and yet be vulnerable to manipulation. But Traoré was not one to surrender to despair. Drawing on a life shaped by resilience, he resolved to channel his personal anguish into a force for change. He summoned his trusted inner circle once again, this time in a secure, secluded conference room nestled deep within the fortified palace. Dimly lit by flickering lanterns, the room reflected the seriousness of the moment. The atmosphere was heavy with purpose, as Traoré addressed his advisors, his voice calm yet powerful, echoing the weight of his pain. This betrayal reaches to the core of our principles. It's not just a personal blow, it's a warning, he stated firmly. Even among those closest to us, darkness can hide. We must untangle this web and expose every layer of deceit. His message reignited a shared sense of mission within the team. They began re-examining every aspect of the case, not only to identify the outside forces that may have influenced Issata, but also to uncover any vulnerabilities within their own system. Over many discrete, late-night sessions, every piece of evidence was reanalyzed. Any sign of coercion or blackmail was carefully investigated. The inquiry soon extended beyond palace walls, involving trusted international intelligence allies. All proceedings remained tightly guarded to protect both national security and personal integrity. As Traoré pressed on, the pain of betrayal slowly evolved into a push for comprehensive reform. He initiated a broad set of changes, not only to eliminate corruption and hidden influences, but also to rebuild the delicate trust between the government and the public. Speaking in sincere town hall gatherings and regional forums across bustling Ouagadougou, he addressed the nation. With honesty, he admitted that even a leader could fall, victim to betrayal. Our country stands resilient, he declared. Today's revelations remind us that trust is fragile and precious. We will rebuild, not in the old image, but as a renewed promise that every citizen is heard and every betrayal is met with firm justice. Public opinion, which had been simmering amid previous political unrest, found an unexpected focal point in Traoré's transparency. His willingness to speak of vulnerability, responsibility, and the difficult personal journey sparked a sense of turning point. Supporters took to the streets with banners calling for accountability and unity. Even skeptics began to wrestle with long-standing questions about loyalty and duty. What began as a deeply personal ordeal grew into a symbol of shared resistance against both external interference and internal erosion. Behind the scenes, as the investigation continued peeling away layers of deception, Traoré embarked on a more personal mission: understanding and healing. In quiet intervals, away from the pressures of leadership, he turned to the wisdom of his youth, seeking comfort in the teachings of his elders. In his private journal, penned with sorrow but firm resolve, he wrote, "In the darkest nights of our lives, when the heart is broken and hope feels distant, lies the chance to rebuild, stronger and wiser than before. This betrayal will not be my undoing. It will be the fire in which truth reforges me." A turning point came on a crisp, clear evening. After weeks of careful thought and gathering undeniable proof, Traoré made the tough choice to speak directly to the nation in a live broadcast. A moment that would redefine how history remembered him. Standing at a podium, with a backdrop symbolizing the unwavering spirit of Burkina Faso, he spoke, not with rage, but with calm and dignified sorrow. "My fellow citizens," he began, his voice steady and firm. "Today, I speak to you not as someone untouched by pain, but as someone deeply wounded by a personal betrayal. The truth is often hard to face. And though my heart is broken, I promise to turn this pain into a renewed drive for justice, transparency, and unity." His message carried both sorrow and hope, a reminder that even the deepest pain can inspire a better future. In the days that followed, significant reforms began to unfold. A wave of audits, guided by international experts, started to break down the networks of corruption that had threatened his leadership. Traoré's personal loss became part of a larger national awakening, a movement demanding accountability that spread through every level of government and society. Even as the pain of betrayal lingered in his private life, every step he took as a leader reflected his firm resolve to overcome adversity and protect the nation's future. Issata, now overwhelmed with guilt and sorrow, was given an opportunity to explain her actions. In a private and serious meeting, guided by counselors and legal experts, she shared her story. She revealed how outside forces had taken advantage of her personal struggles, using manipulation and emotional pressure to control her. Though her choices had caused deep harm, understanding the pressure she was under helped many people see her actions in a different light. The public began to recognize the need for broader change, not just personal blame. For Traoré, this was yet another complex chapter in a painful journey. It reminded him that betrayal isn't always driven by cruelty. Sometimes, it's rooted in fear and coercion. On a personal level, facing his own vulnerability pushed him to embrace new aspects of leadership. Ones that saw forgiveness not as a weakness, but as a path to healing, and accountability as the cornerstone of rebuilding trust. During countless, quiet evenings of reflection, he wrestled with the lessons of loyalty, pain, and resilience. He came to understand that the wounds of betrayal, though permanent, could also serve as lasting reminders to stay alert and lead with empathy. His transformation was slow and marked by enduring sorrow, but it reshaped his vision for his presidency and his nation's future. As the darkest parts of the story gave way to hope, the national conversation began to change, from one of personal heartbreak to one of collective renewal. The story of a respected leader betrayed by someone closest to him touched a chord with a people who had faced their own struggles. In towns, markets, and quiet homes, citizens found strength in Traoré's steady determination. His message was clear: even the most powerful among us are still human, but it is how we respond to hardship that defines our greatness. In one especially moving moment, President Traoré addressed a crowd in a humble town square. The setting sun cast soft shadows around him as he declared, "Today we close a painful chapter. I've learned that a leader's strength is not in avoiding betrayal, but in the bravery to keep standing after it. Let our pain unite us. Let our scars remind us of where we've been, and let our shared dreams light the way forward." His words, gentle but resolute, moved through the crowd like a soothing balm, a message of healing and a fresh start. As Burkina Faso entered a new era, and the wounds slowly began to heal, the legacy of that difficult time was forever changed. What started as a personal tragedy became a powerful example of enduring leadership. A story that showed how, even when faced with harsh truths, true leaders emerge stronger and more committed to their people. Every tear, every difficult moment, and every brave step forward became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even after great loss, the human heart can rise again and turn sorrow into a new beginning. If you'd like to hear more incredible stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay blessed.